Yo, what up, my cheese monsters? So let's get right into Christopher Nolan's Dunkirk. So this is my most anticipated movie of 2017. This is my favorite director of all time. Dude knows how to direct a movie right. The only movie I probably didn't like from him was Interstellar, but I still enjoy Christopher Nolan's many films like Memento, the Dark Knight trilogy, because the dude knows how to direct a great movie. The dude knows how to make tension. The dude knows how to create a story with the writing that he brings, direction that he brings to the table with Hans Zimmer's, score, the crew that he works with, and the direction that he takes in every single movie are just other pieces of masterpieces. You can watch them over and over and over again and still not get bored and still be marveled about the fact that what they can accomplish with a movie that him and his team makes. So let's talk about Dunkirk. It's one of his movies that just came out last week, and honestly, I am so excited to say that this movie was in IMAX. It was a 70mm film, and this movie was pretty freaking sweet. I enjoyed the heck out of this film. Not as much as what I would expect, because really a lot of reviews, though Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 94%, all the critics praised it because it's Christopher Nolan. The dude knows how to direct. So obviously you know that a Christopher Nolan film is going to get the praise it deserves. Problem is how a bunch of YouTubers or a bunch of people around me said, hey, it isn't as great as people say. In fact, it's kind of boring. So me kind of going in with low expectations, like, oh my god, it's going to be shit. It actually wasn't as bad as people said. In fact, the critics are almost on the right on this one. So let's talk about Dunkirk. So Dunkirk really takes place in 1940, the middle of World War II, where a bunch of people, the British and the French, have to escape the beach, Dunkirk. They're waiting for an extraction team, a bunch of boats, while trying to survive. The Nazis pretty much trying to shoot them down with the aerial planes, while a bunch of citizens are trying to get their boats ready to pretty much help these soldiers out, all while trying to survive this chaos that is World War II. And I gotta say, it's pretty sweet. It makes for some great tension. Like I said before, Christopher Nolan makes the most of IMAX. The dude knows how to direct IMAX, because Michael Bay is complete utter garbage with the IMAX cameras. If you see in Transformers 5, he often cuts back from the IMAX to native widescreen, so you're always kind of like out of it. You're always, you're not really concentrating on the film. Rather, you're just irritated by the fact that it keeps on changing ratios. But here, they do it quite a bit, but there is reason for it, and there's reason why they do it. And I gotta say, it was riveting from the minute I was into it. You know, a film that is from the get-go, like the first minute, just introducing characters, you already know just by not them talking and telling the visual story that is Dunkirk really enhances you. And this movie's all about realism. Like I said, this isn't really about the events of Dunkirk, because there's not a lot of dialogue. In fact, the story is really told through the characters' emotions, through the characters going through what they're going through without them emoting stuff. And I kind of understand why Nolan took that direction. It's something that a lot of people complained about. And this is a movie that many people compare it to, which is Saving Private Ryan, which I also reviewed on his channel. It's a great movie. It's amazing. It's awesome. It isn't a true story, mind you, but it is great to see characters that you can they develop and we relate to, so you can see where their emotions are and see why they're fighting and what they're fighting for. Watching this movie, you can't really relate to any characters. That's one of the downsides in the movies, I could say. Problem is that this is not what the movie was trying to focus on. In fact, the movie wasn't really marketing this at all. It's really about the events of how Dunkirk happened and how the evacuation happened. And honestly, that in itself is great to see that Nolan isn't trying to fool you. He's just trying to tell you that, hey, this is what's going on. Don't get any crazy ideas, because this isn't a typical war movie. A lot of people like Chris Stuckman have said that, in a typical war type situation, not a lot of people are going to talk about their life scenario, because it is war. If you're put in this situation, for example, you are in the middle of war, you're trying to fight for your life, and you're trying to fight and trying to escape, you're not going to talk about your life. You're not going to talk about your life stories and ambitions. You're really going to be like, what the fuck, and get out of here. Sure, they do talk in the movie. I'm not saying that this movie is like a silent film, nonetheless, but they talk when they need to talk. Like, hey, there's something wrong with this, or there's something wrong with that. Oh no, there's a torpedo coming. That's that's when they actually talk, and that's honestly expected in army personnel. The problem is that, you know, they don't share a conversation. Like, there are moments where you think they're gonna talk, like they're gonna have like a conversation or downtime, but really they're just silent and they're there. And I could say that you're not gonna get many ice creamers in this movie, and that's a spectacle here. And this movie is worth it to watch in IMAX. I never watched the movie in IMAX. Weirdly enough, I am a movie guy, but yet I never tried IMAX ever. So watching this film in IMAX made me feel like, yes, this is what IMAX was for. In the 70mm film that Christopher Nolan decided to shoot in, I thought, whoa, this movie immerses you into experience. You're actually there. You're feeling the realistic situation that these people are in. And I gotta say, the way they shot this film and the way what they used, practical effects they used, really enhanced what the war was like, what Dunkirk was like, and escaping it. I was saying, I don't know how those men survived. I don't know how they did it, but damn, it's scary. And there's not a lot of action sequences. In fact, there are barely any. But that wasn't the point of the movie at all. The tension, though, that was there. It was insanely there. I was immersed. I was just fearful of them. I was fearful of what they're going to do next. There are times when Hans Zimmer's score just swoops in and it's so slowly building up. You know those scores in the Batman Begins, or I guess the Batman series, where they slowly build up. Dark Knight is prominent of this, when they actually use the score to build and build and build. You can see this in this movie, and it just gives me chills. I'm freaking out for the past 1 hour, and this is a really short film, mind you, because it was weird for Christopher Nolan, because the dude does pretty long films. The Dark Knight trilogy alone, every movie is around 2 hours and 20 minutes. So watching this 1 hour 46 minutes, I barely looked at my phone. I was barely distracted. It was me just immersed in whatever's happening in Dunkirk right now. That's something that is marvelous. That's something that Christopher Nolan does right, and it never made me deviate from anywhere. And in a movie like where no one talks, which is honestly a great spectacle of how they wrote this film, because writing a film there's little dialogue is really hard to carry on a story. They had to envision it, and the vision that they brought out in this movie really made it. Really, I can see what Christopher Nolan was thinking. You barely recognize characters, and the only characters I recognized were Harry Styles, Tom Hardy, and even Kenneth Branagh. Kenneth Branagh was there. They're all there. Problem is that they barely talk. Tom Hardy's literally just in the pilot seat, just like, sup, I'm just flying a plane, helping my comrades out, and that's it. That's oh my god. That's just a great spectacle all alone. Seriously, seeing him actually with his eyes just really emoting through facial expressions of what's going on, and the spectacle that is Dunkirk. They don't really use explosions. It's all realistic how they would take down a plane, how they would actually shoot down and have dogfights, because it's not like an epic action movie where everything is jam-packed action. Rather, it's really a realistic take of what would have happened in Dunkirk. Watching this movie and seeing what reactions to veterans of Dunkirk, they were pretty excited. They were well, I wouldn't say excited. They were really appreciative of how they dealt with this movie. And I gotta say, I understand why, because this movie was realistic as fuck. A lot of authentic scenes where everything was practical, shot beautifully, shot in real life locations. So I could see why this movie really brought the experience for many, many people. But at the same time, I can understand why people hated this movie, because this movie isn't a typical war movie where you know, have a main lead to carry on with. And honestly, I kind of negated that fact. It was bothering at first. But at the end, I really didn't really mind that. It just drifted off in the wind. I was just focusing on what happened and how Dunkirk began to be, and what happened there was so marvelous. You see, you know, civilians trying to help these people. You see the cheerful joy of these people trying to get off, and that alone makes you have a smile on your face. And that, just saying that alone makes you think that yes, you're already invested and you already feel what these characters are feeling. That's alone, and that's why movies were there for you, to see what these men went through, and how these men were cheerful, how these men were in agony, how these men were just so in such a despair, or very bad situation, I can see why people enjoyed the heck out of this film. And really, that's really something that I enjoy, what Christopher Nolan really brought to Dunkirk. And I gotta say, this is a really great movie. Although one little side note to add is that the cut, sometimes it did annoy me. Sometimes it just cut back to day, back to night. Sometimes it cut back to the civilians, or I guess the boat, or sometimes it cut back to soldiers. It'll be random cuts at random times, so you don't know either the timeline or you don't know what's going on really, because half the time I'm just confused. I literally asked my brother, hey, what's going on, because I'm kind of lost. But that happens for a split second. After a while, you're just like, okay, I'm already in. Okay, cool. I can say the editing is choppy. I can say that. But these minor flaws that they didn't really bring down the movie for me in any way. And I gotta say, Dunkirk is a movie to watch in IMAX, the biggest screen ever, or watching it in theaters alone just brings a better experience for it. So I gotta say, Dunkirk is the best movie ever. Dunkirk is one of the best movies ever for me. I say that a lot lately. I gotta, get my game up to bring some shitty movies into this list. It's hard for me to bring some good movies and new movies in there, but hey, far. So what did you think about Dunkirk? Are you a fan of Christopher Nolan? Do you think Dunkirk isn't the best movie ever? Or Christopher Nolan really dropped the ball on this one? Whatever it is, just leave that in the comment down below. As always, like and subscribe. Hit me up on my channel. As always, hit that notification button. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.